Hey everybody, Rosematter here. Welcome to the finale of Chaos Head Noah. After a long, long time, we're finally coming to the end of this game. So many endings, so many deaths, just so much bad stuff happening. But now hopefully we can right everything, be able to defeat Norose, stop Noah 2. I'm assuming we'll probably be able to save all the Gigalomaniacs, all the girls will be saved. We can save Nanami. This Takumi will be able to survive and live out his happy days with Rimi and all the girls and his sister, and everything will be right in the world. That's my hope anyway. Only one way to find out. Let's go ahead and finish this. And really quick, stay tuned until the end of this video where I will be announcing what my next Let's Play series will be as voted by you guys. So yeah, stay tuned to the end of the video to see what I'll be playing next. But for now, let's go ahead and finish Chaos Head Noah. Chapter 10, Blue Sky. I love being able to just skip right in. This is great.
Nishijo Nanami ga inoru.
Okay, yeah, I remember this. This is where all the girls are praying for me.
兄と共に収容された病院。怪我人があふれた待合室の片隅にうずくまり、実の兄のしわくちゃの手を握りしめて、右手の痛みに耐えて、目を閉じて、祈るもう一人の兄の無事を。
Okay, I think this is slightly different. I don't know if she was with the original Nishijo.
楠木優愛が祈る倒壊したビルの瓦礫。そこに埋もれるように横たわるコンテナの中で、彼の美少女フィギュアの一つを握りしめて、地震と火事で醜く変形してしまったフィギュアたちの姿に感じた胸の痛みに耐え、目を閉じて祈る彼女を許してくれた少年の無事を。岸本綾瀬が祈る避難所となっている水明学園。その校舎の屋上で空を見上げて、神話が書かれた文庫本を握りしめて、崩壊した渋谷を覆う不特定多数の妄想が見せる悪意の痛みに耐え、目を閉じて祈る彼女の歌を、彼女の話を聞いてくれた少年の無事を。折原梢が祈る新鮮駅の薄暗いホーム、青い瀬名の震える手を握りしめて、足の傷の痛みに耐えて、目を閉じて祈る心の声で語り合ったクラスメートの少年の無事を。青い瀬名が祈る横たわる父の傍らに座り、父の冷たくなった手を握りしめて、最後まで素直になれなかった後悔の痛みに耐えて、目を閉じて祈る。
Okay, yeah, so this is going pretty much. Was this the very first ending we got? I can't exactly remember what happened. I think, it seemed like it was sort of a good end. We weren't able to stop the collapse of Shibuya. Like, that's already happened at this point. Maybe we can somehow go back and prevent it all from happening. But everybody's alive at this point, so that's good. Also, there's the whole thing, the one ending with where it turns out like Momose, she has some culpability to this. Like, that was just brought up one time and never mentioned again. So is that going to be mentioned in this ending?
彼女のお願いに不器用ながら答えようとしてくれた少年の無事を。咲畑りみが祈る冷たい床に横たわりながら、彼へ伸ばした自らの手をきつく握りしめて、 傷だらけの彼の姿を見て感じた。締め付けられるような胸の痛みに耐えて、目を閉じて祈る自分が守ろうとした。自分を助けに来てくれた少年の無事を。
Okay, we're back to here. Blue sky makes
僕
sense.
は何もできなかった。君が行動したんだ。その結果として、みんなが君のことを見てきた。君という周囲共通認識は、とっくに出来上がっているんだ。
Okay, so this will be the thing where it's like maybe the original Nishijo Takumi will die, but like this one can live on in this world because people mutually recognize him as Nishijo Takumi. So he sees himself as like, I'm just a fake, I'm not real, but now he can be seen as real.
これからは、いや、もうすでに、
Yeah, he's gonna be like, you are the
君こそ
real,
が
yeah, Nishijo Takumi.
僕は、君は誰？君は僕
Okay, this is new. This is new. Okay, I definitely have to make sure I make the right choices this time. I didn't realize that there were going to be choices. I've got to pull up my thing here. What if I just completely screwed up right at the very end when we're supposed to get the good ending? Okay, here we go. So, you are me. Yes. Wow, there's a lot of prompts here.
僕は
Holy cow.
君
I am you. I mean, I might not even need the guide for this.
僕なんていない。
Like, this is all stuff that I should know because I've played the game. So there's no me, no.
君なんていない。
There's no you.
僕は僕じゃない。
I am not me. No. And then the rest are all yeses, so that's easy.
あなたは鬼。
Okay, we're going through all the endings here. Ugh, why do they have to bring that back up? Ugh, I would have rather forgotten about
あな
that.
たは西条くん。君は匠。あなたは匠さん。お前は西条。あなたはタク。
僕は僕。僕は妄想の存在。僕は存在する。僕は西条匠。
What if at the end I'm like, no?
僕はその声が聞こえた瞬間に意識が僕を固定した。ぐちゃぐちゃにかき回されていた世界が一気に収束する。混沌は僕の理想度を形作って収束する。僕は僕としての形に戻る。世界は世界としての形に戻る。僕は僕だ。
All right. I can see clearly now. All my wounds have healed. My top and bottom halves are connected. Oh, shit. All right, that's where he got sliced up. I forgot about that. I'm standing on my own 2 feet. The pain is entirely gone. Serenity fills my heart.
妄想によく打ち勝ったね。僕の最後の力を。 君に託すよ。
And this is what he did with Rimi, where before he gave Rimi the last of the power because I was useless and I didn't do anything. I noticed Rimi at the edge of my vision. She's okay. She's looking at me. Tears are falling down her face. Don't cry. Oh, all the weapons are coming. Okay, so everybody's helping out. Power of friendship. Directly behind me, space begins to warp. Oh, are they gonna like... Are they gonna transform into like one ultra megas like sword, kind of like Power Rangers when they just combine together? Prayers are brought into creation, the 6 gospels, or perhaps the impulses of 6 spirits. All too pure, all too graceful, all too dignified, all too sharp, all too ferocious, all too destructive, and all too awash with an ill-omened beauty. Or omened beauty. I accept every piece of them. The 6 blades writhe above. Wistfully, or perhaps rapturously, they raise their shrieks. Oh, they are too! We're getting the one ultimate weapon. Because I thought his sword was a little plain, I'm not gonna lie. It's just like a big, long sword without any fanfare to it. The girls all get such pretty cool swords, and he just gets that. And fuse with my D-sword. Summoning my strength, I grasp the D-sword's hilt. I ascertain its feeling. My arms work better than ever. I've completely regenerated.
これは実に興味深いですよ。この化け物め。
I focus my eyes on Norose.
確かに。僕は化け物だよ。でもこれが。
So I can rescue Rimi, so I can destroy Noah too.
僕が望んだ妄想だ。
Norose's response is swift. He is yet to harvest the code samples of Nishijo Takumi. The delusion was supposed to corner the boy and shatter his psyche, but now the tables have turned. And that he cannot allow. Norose closes the gap between himself and Takumi. Taking a specific angle, he swings his D-sword from below. With a D-sword that can cleave any known object, he diagonally carves through Takumi's chest. The target's durability makes no difference. Killing a person with it is as simple as slicing through a block of gelatin. Yeah, like I remember the other points where I was here, either I got completely disemboweled and dismembered, or like I was stuck in my brain, just breaking down from the delusions he was casting on me. With one quick swipe from Norose, Takumi's body is split into pieces. His head, right arm, and right shoulder all slide cleanly off his body. Internal organs litter the floor, but not a single drop of blood falls with them. The lower half of Takumi's body begins to give way. He braces himself, and manages to plant his feet. In the following moment, the cross-section of his wound begins to undulate and squirm. Ugh. A bubbling noise ensues. In this following moment, the cross-section of his wound begins to undulate and squirm, and then he regenerates. Unharmed, unaffected. Even though his body was cleaved apart a mere second ago, already a new head, right arm, and shoulder were born. His old head and internal organs remain where they slid free from him.
通覚は遮断した。
With a single step, Takumi approaches Norose. Norose clicks his tongue and turns over his D-sword.
肉体の形を捨てたがゆえに、いかなる形をも取れるということですか。
あんたの見せてくれた妄想のおかげだよ。
He is unable to retain his shape as a human being. He took in the delusion and made it his own. This is not regeneration, but replacement. Missing parts replenish, flesh and bone are produced once again, all propagating infinitely from the dust within his body. His shape is not fixed. Like an amoeba, like a collection of slime, he can change himself freely. That is the reason Takumi calls himself a monster. Takumi takes yet another step toward Norose. Norose's frustration increases. Gripping the hilt, he thrusts his D-sword at the approaching Takumi. Takumi's head finds itself between a colossal pair of scissors.
脳を失えば妄想はできないでしょう。
Takumi's head is crushed. It splits like a watermelon. Blood and gray matter burst forth. Everything above the neck is gone, and yet Takumi's body remains. Regeneration, replacement, is instantaneous. As soon as his heel hits the ground, as if nothing happened, as if he was entirely replaced, his head returns right to where it was without a single scratch. Norose awakens to an understanding. He cannot win this fight. Physical attacks with his D-sword are useless. The delusional attack denying the boy's reason for existence was taken in and used for an alternate purpose. The current Nishijo Takumi is all too removed from human normalcy, all too distorted of an existence, all too fitting as a monster. And yet, despite it all, Norose has no intention of conceding. His next thought is to utilize Noah 2's power to bombard Takumi with innumerable antiparticles. Bombardment with antiparticles can transform any known existence into negative matter, ending ultimately in self-collapse. If disruption from the surface is not viable, then collapse must be undertaken from within.
そうなんだね。
I feel like this has happened already. I feel like we had, I don't know if it was the first or second ending, where it's like we had a very similar thing to this where he realized that he can't win, but maybe that was just like Takumi's delusion where he wanted to believe that he had won and everything was okay when that wasn't the truth. Norose's thoughts were read by Takumi. The shine of Takumi's D-sword transforms from red to black. A black flame envelops the blade. Yeah, right, because don't I kick him into the Noah 2. This has happened before, I'm sure it has. A black flame envelops the blade. It wriggles forth, extending outward. Its shape resembles that of a dark... Yeah, this has happened before. We have had that, and the badass music kicks in and everything. Yeah, a dark colossal serpent.
そして現れるのよ。
It roams throughout the dome as if constrained by it, toward the ceiling, towards the floor, as though licking them up, as though it's scraping them away. And his sword looks the same as it did before. It simply consumes.
写真の黒き大蛇。あらゆる崩壊を飲み込み、邪神王の身を砕くことのできる。同質にして異質なるものが。
The body of the colossal serpent is composed of antiparticles. With a mere touch, it can send any known object into self-collapse. A torrent of destruction composed of near-infinite greed.
触手芸はあんまり好みじゃないけど。
There and then, Takumi's D-sword swings, its pointed tip fixed on Norose. The dark serpent, winding itself into a coil, curves its body like a whip. Its jaw snaps at Norose.
これほどとは。
Not once has Norose ever seen such a phenomenon from a D-sword. He cannot discern whether it was the hidden power of all gigalomaniacs or merely Takumi's delusion. Okay, yeah, this is different, because before it was like he kicked him into Noah 2 and he basically, like, disintegrated. Dark fangs erode Norose's body, and he begins to collapse, all too slowly, like a frog slowly dissolving in the belly of a snake. Darkness swallows him. He feels no pain. By nature, his death should be instant, but that is not what Takumi wishes for. Realizing this, Narose's lips twist into a derisive smile. Norose has no fear of death. One could say the ideals he pursued were accomplished with the completion of Noah 2.
私を殺してもノア2には誰も近づけない。永久期間なんですよ、それは。
Oh wait, yeah, because then he's like, you're right. Yeah, Takumi's like, you're right, no one else can approach it, and then he basically throws him into the machine and it explodes, I think.
人類を未来永劫にわたって管理し続ける。ただ座して眺めているだけではない、人の幸福のために干渉してくる人工の神なのです。
Norose is God's inventor, so to speak. As long as Noah 2 continues to exist, mankind will not perish, and the eternal utopia Norose seeks will become real. However...
あんたなら近づけるんでしょ。
Right, yep. The serpent's body wriggles and writhes with Norose in its grasp, lifting his body into the
そ
air.
れならあんたは鍵だ。
Norose is astonished, but soon enough, his face changes into an expression of pure agony. The serpent swings about his body with ease. Takumi shoots a glance at Rimi. Their eyes meet. Just what is Rimi feeling as she watches him? Reading her mind would be effortless, and yet Takumi does nothing of the sort. It seems I was able to save you after all. He quickly averts his eyes. His gaze then shifts to the still humming Noah 2, the throne of God where none may step foot, a cradle which shows naught but dreams of bliss. He apologizes to no one in particular.
僕は人類にとっての敵かもね。
The eternal utopia this device would bring, a future without conflict. Takumi will extinguish them with his own two hands. Is that right, or is it wrong? Takumi can't give the answer to that.
でも神話でもよくあるでしょ。神だって女絡みでうだうだやってる。だから僕も
Will sacrifice the happiness of mankind out of love for a girl. Takumi, D-sword in hand, bends his arm in a giant arc.
突き破れ!
He thrusts it forth, just like a javelin. The colossal serpent of darkness charges straight ahead. With the bait known as Norose impaled by its tip, it flies straight toward Noah 2, an enormous serpent of antiparticles capable of terminating any known object. It had no will of its own, thus, it is not something that could be warped nor distorted. With the greedy impulse to destroy, using Norose as the key, the delusional barrier is easily smashed to pieces. When did the rain begin to fall? There was just a huge explosion, and its blast blew my body away like it was nothing more than a rag doll. Next thing I knew, I found myself lying here. Those eyes are always watching me. The stare pierces through the thick, pitch-black rain clouds, and pours down on me like rain. Don't look at me. My body won't stop shivering, not from the chill of the rain, but rather the ice-cold rubble pressing against my back. So terribly cold. A gaze pierces me from the heavens. Who it belongs to, I can't say. As if to escape it, I raise my head to look at the environment around me. There I see a ruined city. There I see despair. So we weren't able to save the city. I was like, maybe there'll be kind of like a Steins Gate thing, although Steins Gate deals with time travel, so it makes sense. Oh, not a soul is there. But I was hoping maybe. It could still happen. Who knows? Not a soul is moving. Not a soul is left alive. The only thing I can hear is the sound of the rain continuing to pour. At this rate, everything, both the living and the dead, will it all be gently embraced and washed away? How nice it would be if all of this was just a delusion, but that doesn't seem to be the case. I can't move my body. I can only move my eyes and neck, and even then, just barely. I can't use that monstrous power from before. My body's shivering, that's nothing more than a physiological phenomenon. It isn't happening by my own will. I don't want my body to tremble. If I can't move it freely, then it isn't my body. Or maybe I've never had free will since I was born. Nobody knows exactly where the soul resides. Bearing that in mind, how can anyone say that there is a soul inside this body of mine? But then where exactly am I now? Am I really here? Am I anywhere at all? In this shattered world where all stands still, where all that can be heard is the rain of death, suddenly another sound echoes through it. A single solitary existence begins to emerge from the sea of nothingness. Who are you? Is your skin so pale because it's been numbed by the chill of the rain? Or is it because you're already dead? And yet the girl isn't shivering, and those eyes of hers nearly hidden by her bangs. Don't look at me. They look so terribly sad. They look as if they hold a hint of madness. They look as if they reflect nothing. If she and I were the only ones left in the world, if we stared into each other's eyes like this for all eternity, would my world be reduced to the reflection in her eyes? Would her world be reduced to the reflection in my eyes? The only thing reflected in her eyes is me. The only thing reflected in my eyes is her. When I think of it that way, the world immediately seems so much smaller. Suddenly, a flash of static reaches my ears, one endlessly beautiful yet deeply discordant. She lowers her head and spreads her arms wide, almost as if preparing to take off, to soar high above the rain clouds, or as if trying to catch all the falling rain.
あなたを見つめる妄想
From where I am on the ground, I can't see the expression on that lowered head of hers. Behind this thin veil of rain, just what kind of face are you making? Okay, this is all pretty much going the way it has been for a while. I'm waiting for, like, what's the big change going to be? Okay, she kills me usually, but is that going to happen this time? An angel? Are those dancing feathers of light blessing me, or... I see. I finally understand. She's going to use that to kill me. The girl slowly kneels to the ground right before my collapsed body. With her head still lowered, she gently takes my own in her hands. I surrender my body to her grasp. I'm just relieved she isn't looking at me.
殺さなくちゃいけないの
In my ear, I hear a whisper, garbled by static. It's as beautiful as it is discordant.
ごめんごめんね
There's nothing to apologize for. If I don't disappear, the other me, the real me, will die. So, that's why I'm okay with this. In fact, I'm really glad I get to be erased by you. It's not a bad end for a monster like me. I don't have any regrets. So am I gonna die? This whole thing about how, like, he is Takumi, and is he actually gonna die? A warm, soft, gentle, sweet sensation. And miraculously, as if it were an anesthetic, the shivering in my body slowly begins to die down. Her soft breath tickles my chest. It smells so sweet. Suddenly, I sense something pressing against my chest. The large sword she holds tears through my skin, bores into my flesh, weaves through my bones, and slowly sinks through to the center of my body. But gifted with the anesthesia of her kiss, I no longer feel any pain. I would never have imagined I'd get such a kind death. Just the thought of it breaks my heart, leaving me on the verge of tears. Okay, so he died anyway? Wasn't expecting that. So does that mean that the original Takumi is going to come back to life? This is the blue sky ending, right? Trying to hide them, I look past the girl's head up towards the ashen sky where the rain continues to pour. And this is normally where it would end. So what happens after? I can't do it. Okay, here we go. Her lips pull away from me. Her sad whispers trickle into my ears.
やっぱりタクを殺せないよ。
I feel no pain. Her sword isn't real booted. My body isn't injured in the slightest.
でも消してくれなきゃ本物の僕が
Will die. He will die. That's why I should die instead. That way he can stay alive for just a little bit longer. I'm sure that's what you want too.
消して消すんだ僕を
できない。
Rimi lightly shakes her head. Those eyes of her waver as they stare at me.
好きなの。あなたの弱さが。
Damn, that feels so backhanded. She's like, I just want to be mommy and take care of you.
弱いくせに。
Like how weird you are.
臆病なくせに。
But I guess like you're weak and cowardly, but you still came through and you still did the right thing and you put yourself at risk.
ボロボロになって。私なんかを助けに来てくれた。
I guess that's the thing. Yeah, it's like to be, it's a thing. It's like to be afraid, but to do the right thing anyway. But to be weak, but still put yourself in danger. That's admirable. He's grown up. He certainly is very different from the character we started with, who I couldn't stand.
その強さが好きなの。あなたと同じ時間をもっと過ごしたいの。あなたを失いたくない。あなたに生きていてほしい。
You'll look at me?
僕は化け物なんだ
私だって同じだよ。
Is it okay for me to keep on living?
君がそれを選んだなら生きていていいんだ。
I hear a voice from the sky, and with that I understand. Because our minds are directly connected, I perceive a certain feeling. That right now, at this very moment, his life just vanished.
匠が死んだんだね。
In that moment, Rimi quickly sensed the emotions on my face, or the emotions my face conveyed. Hesitating for a moment, I give her a faint nod. Don't cry. I don't want you to cry. Feeling returns to my entire body. Warmth returns to my body as well. Even though my movements are still clumsy, even though I'm still trembling. With the hand I can move, I take out a vermilion handkerchief. Ah, Rimi's face is covered in tears. The droplets that are so beautiful, so clear. I softly wipe them away with all the memories you've given me.
僕も君が好きです
Rimi tightly clasps my hand as if she wishes to cling to it forever, as if to confirm that we exist right here. The warmth within us is contagious. Both my and your temperatures melt together. The two of us look up at the sky. Without a doubt, it's covered by clouds. But
光は電磁場の波その振動現象を人の視覚は色として捉える
タク、その言葉。
words that only he and Rimi should know. Words that he used to give Rimi hope. And yet, I know them, because I've seen his memories. He and I are one in body and soul. My memories and his are shared between us. His memories of the 17 years of life he lived were all passed down to me, and he vicariously experienced my own year and a half of life.
自分のデッドスポットに望む色を当てはめれば、僕たちのあの空の色は取り戻せる。
We know that color because, in that image world of only sea and sky, it's the color we gazed up at and burned into our memories. Suddenly, the rain stops. In an instant, the clouds vanish. It's clearing up. Coming back. Something that, no matter where you look, always seems to draw you in, gently blankets the world. The blue sky above. All right, well that was fast. I mean, I guess we did jump right ahead to chapter 10, so that makes sense. It's I was kind of hoping for more than that, to be honest. Are we at least gonna like get to see what happens to all the characters afterwards? I imagine there's probably gonna be like a post thing at the end. Maybe we'll see like a time jump, you know, like a couple of months away, and everybody's like all friends and hanging out. Oh, okay, so we're getting a little something here. I mean, it's not so good for poor Nanami, although, like, her brother died, but at least he died with a smile on his face, it looks like. Wait, so we got a thing. Oh, that's her. I guess it's like the figurine? At the end, we've got a figurine of Seraton. I wasn't expecting to see her at the end. Okay. Wait, what? Okay, reached the blue sky ending. We did it! Hooray! Oh, the prelude, Delusion of Zero, has been unlocked. Okay, so we got some extra stuff here. Cool. All right. Oh, what's this? Congratulations. Okay, here we go. Because I was like, there we go. Yay, happy blue sky. So I guess with it being a prelude, I was hoping that, like, Delusion of Zero, a Chaos Head prelude, I was hoping, like, it would go into what happened after everything, but a prelude is, like, something beforehand, so maybe I won't get the closure that I was hoping for, but we'll see. Before I pass on, allow me to recount my memories leading to this moment. Okay, so this has got to be the original Nishijo Takumi, right? Because he died. Imagination is more important than knowledge, for knowledge is limited, whereas imagination embraces the entire world. Those are the words of Albert Einstein. When his delusion, E equals mc squared, embraced the world, how had the man felt? Yes, what you surmise is true. The famous, gifted physicist was in fact a gigalomaniac. Okay, I like to imagine that all the scientists of the world who created like mathematical equations or discovered these big scientific breakthroughs, they were all gigalomaniacs. and a fairly exceptional one at that. My powers undoubtedly pale in comparison to his. Yet, despite my saying so, I unknowingly brought a similar delusion into existence. To deny that reality would be a fool's errand, for my delusion has already spread far across the world. Oh gosh, I'm not even going to try to say all that. I'm just going to say IR2, because that's what I know it to be. I believe I was in the 4th grade when I materialized that formula. It was also around the time when my body first began to suffer various abnormalities. Ever since its very birth, that delusion has slowly eroded my body. In a mere 6 months, I was no longer able to walk unassisted. At the time, I was not aware of my status as a gigalomaniac. I somehow managed to continue attending classes, but I proved unable to participate in an upcoming field trip due to my worsening condition. And so, despite my intense anticipation for the event, my parents forbade me from attending, which birthed in me a fierce resentment toward them for a time. From that moment onward, my delusions continued to engorge. Delusions synonymous with nothing but pure envy. These very delusions would go on to injure my classmates who had gone on the field trip without me and kill the chaperoning teacher. Only then did I come to realize that I harbored a terrifying power. I was admitted to the hospital soon after. More time would pass, and eventually all the doctors present gave up on diagnosing my condition. All the doctors, save for one. Okay, Norose Genichi. Although I was fairly young when I first encountered him, it only took a glance to understand this man's true sinister nature. Well, yeah, when you smile like that, there's nothing good is going to come from this. The two of us were alike, after all. Two souls far removed from common sense. Naturally, because of this fact, his proposed treatment for my condition was denied, and he was dismissed from my case. I was fortunate in that his successor turned out to be Dr. Takashina. Before Norose departed, however, I took the time. I wonder if that's why Norose, why that doctor, why he was targeted as one of the victims is like, sorry, not Norose, Takashina, why he was targeted is Norose like had a grudge against him for basically keeping him away from Takumi. Maybe. Although it's also probably just because of the fact. No, I'm trying to remember it. The deaths, like the murders, it was also to like awaken something in Takumi, so he kind of targeted people that were close to him. Before Norose departed, however, I took the time to peer into his mind and learned of both Project Noah and Nozomi technology. The very hospital I'd been admitted to also served as the lair of my enemy. If nothing was done, my delusion would be utilized by Project Noah, and grave consequences would befall the world. When I realized this, I immediately attempted escape, but that was when I grasped a terrifying truth. Only as a result of my treatment had I come to reach a form of stability. In other words, my body had already deteriorated to a point where I could no longer survive outside of the hospital. I was intensely aware of the fact that my enemies were always near. I kept them at bay with delusions, but my body grew weaker with each person I stayed. A vicious cycle that only served to further extend my stay at the hospital. If this were to continue, my capture by Norose would be inevitable. With no other options left to me, I was forced to erase every trace of my existence. I had ceased attending classes sometime prior to that point, so upon my classmates' graduation from elementary school, I executed my plan. Our treatment of Nishijo Takumi has proved successful, and he has thus been discharged from the hospital. That's the fiction I created. One I implanted into the minds of my parents, as well as the entirety of the hospital staff. Any person who had any possibility of coming into contact with Norose was put under this impression. Then, using my delusions, I isolated myself in a hospital room separated from the rest of the building. But I was not able to alter everyone's memories. Ah, Nanami, my younger sister Nanami proved to be an exception. Only she was able to enter the room with no semblance of difficulty. She did not even seem to recognize the room as separate from the hospital. Of course, whenever she took it upon herself to visit the hospital, I crafted a delusion allowing her to remain unseen by anyone present. Nanami, while quite childish, showed nothing but concern for me during my time in the hospital. Even on my darkest days, she put forth her best effort to care for me. Those moments showed me how strong she truly was, and I found myself unable to steal her memories away from her. Is it also partially because she's a gigalomaniac that she was able to, bypass the delusion? Like she formed her own delusion, like, I'm gonna go see my brother. Nanami, however, was not the only exception, but that there's Rimi, who's also a gigalomaniac. This was the time I came to know a girl named Sakihata Rimi. Rimi had been confined to the hospital's basement for nearly a year. Every day she'd face brutal, ceaseless torture at the hands of Norose, but no matter how hard I tried to call out to her, my voice would never reach her. It was only upon her eventual awakening as a gigalomaniac that I finally managed to synchronize with her delusion. In that moment, I entered the world inside her mind, her image world. Whether that was truly for the best, I've yet to determine. The delusions she carried within her are endlessly sorrowful, and yet they are also her reality. Unable to face it, she had killed her own heart and mind numerous times before I met her, destroying all remnants of her past selves. The formula born from my delusions had brought this girl endless suffering. For all these reasons, I saved her. My delusionary powers allowed me to travel anywhere. In reality, my body's still incapable of walking, but I'm able to create a door that leads to any destination. Producing these delusions requires a great deal of strength, however, forcing me to use it only sparingly. And yet, despite this fierce tax on my body, I would not hesitate to give my life if it meant stopping Project Noah, a project I had effectively founded when I allowed my delusion to spread across the world. And so, upon isolating myself, I began to pour every ounce of strength into halting the advancement of Project Noah. However, the skill my enemies possessed matched my own, rendering my efforts useless. They'd established a defensive strategy, and with it, the search for me had begun. If I were to make even one mistake, I'd be discovered in an instant and captured. This manhunt would only serve to increase the danger Nanami was in, as the two of us were family. I had no desire to involve anyone in this fight, so I hid myself away from the world. In the end, I was naive, and 3 years went by entirely wasted. During that time, I conjured numerous delusions, but each one only served to weaken me further. If this were to continue, there'd be no way of stopping Project Noah. For this reason, I decided to give birth to you. To achieve this end, I had to sever every link I had left to society. My final remaining connection to the outside world, to my normal life, was Nanami. Because of this, I was forced to erase all memory she had of me. I know my actions caused her a great deal of pain. In our last moments together, it was clear how deeply hurt she was. Even so, I knew that pain was sure to leave her momentarily. As long as she forgot about me, she'd be able to return to her normal life. Wishing only for her happiness, I liberated her from the burden known as myself. It was with Rimi that I miscalculated. Naturally, I tried to erase her memories as well. I wanted her to forget about her awakening as a gigalomaniac, about her sickly torture at the hands of Norose, and that she had ever met me. I wanted to give her a normal life. However, Rimi is an exceptionally skilled gigalomaniac. No matter how many times I tried to overwrite her memories, my delusions were deflected without fail. It was clear she was very experienced in locking away her heart, all while wearing the brightest of smiles on her face. My attempts having borne no fruit, I abandoned all hope of altering her memories, and thus redirected my efforts. Creating a human from nothing proved difficult, even with the power of delusions. I've come to know that the human soul is incredibly delicate, that it is as elaborate as it is precise. In order to create you, I focused completely on the personality that delusions would form. For an entire month's time, you were all I thought about. In a way, it was quite similar to falling in love, though I myself have never known the feeling. If you were to come to know this, I'm sure you'd feel repulsed. Essentially, you are me. My memories, my abilities, and finally my name. I have entrusted them all to you. The moment you're born, I will no longer be the boy known as Nishijo Takumi. How depressed and how disappointed was he when he made this version of him, and all he does is spend his time in a container just watching anime and playing video games. From that moment on, I shall take on the moniker Shogun. Why Shogun, you may ask? Well, I quite like Togu Shogun. That's all there is to it. With that being said, once you're born, your role will no doubt be a very painful one. First and foremost, you must awaken as a gigalomaniac. To meet this end, you'll have to endure an extreme mental load, a grave, unforgiving strain on your psyche. Once you awaken and grasp your D-sword, the battle against Nozomi technology will begin, the battle to stop Project Noah. This is my ultimate goal, and by extension, yours. But I'd be remiss if I did not say this. My reason for creating you was incredibly selfish, but I had no other choice. I cannot do this on my own. I hope you can find it in yourself to forgive me. The curtain finally falls. You'll be free. Once you're granted this freedom, please grant me this in turn. I ask that you turn a blind eye to my selfish desires, including forcing these memories onto you. And I ask that you be a good older brother to Nanami. Please. I want to see that. Like, let me, after all of this, please, let me see, you know, what happened after all this. Like, the rebuilding of Shibuya and, you know, like, Takumi hopefully having a better life. If I had the ability, I would have done this all myself. I would have done it while dreaming of the peace I would see once it all came to a close. It's a pleasure to meet you, Nishijo Takumi. Yet, this is also goodbye, Nishijo Takumi. Welcome to the world. Harsh battles await you, as do infinite possibilities. As long as the blue sky above exists, that fact can never be denied. You are me, and at the same time, you are also you. A hospital room none would visit, dyed orange by the setting sun. Clutching her knee silently in one of its corners, Sakihata Rimi noticed something strange occurring in Nishijo Takumi's bed. His breathing had quickened. His chest, reduced to mere skin and bone, rose and fell rapidly with each breath. With a low gasp, Rimi watched as innumerable thorned vines slowly radiated from the bed's center. A delicate construct that appeared both metallic yet organic, with a beauty that rivaled even the most breathtaking of sights. Vines of such description colored the room. They crept and crawled all over the walls and floor, overtaking every inch of the closed space the two resided in. Like the veins of a leaf, shards of translucent glass emerged from the surface of the vines, each pulsating with a flickering red light. Together, it was reminiscent of an 8-headed serpent, each branch possessing its own will. Nishijo Takumi's D-sword. Rimi had seen it only once before, but at that time it had been confined to one of his weak, frail hands, wrapped around it as tight as could be. Nishijo Takumi remained motionless on the bed. In spite of Rimi's attempts to inhibit him, she realized he had been successful in creating another self. As she gazed upon him, memories resurfaced of the time she had asked him if he intended to die as a result of his actions. To this he had merely nodded. Soon, the pulsing glow of the D-sword covering the walls began to dim, and before long the vines began to dry and crack. As they crumbled away around her, Rimi slowly rose to her feet. Taking care not to run into any thorns, she cautiously made her way over to the bed. Standing by his side, she lifted her hand and gently caressed Shogun's desiccated cheek. Still, he continued to breathe. Would he ever regain consciousness someday? At that moment in time, somewhere in Shibuya, another Nishijo Takumi had been born. Would she ever come to meet him someday? Until that day came, she'd continue to wait here. For she had no family, or she had nowhere else to go. For she had no home to return to, no one waiting for her. Gazing out the window, Rimi looked to the many skyscrapers of Shibuya, each dyed a deep orange by the twilight, as a single trickle of tears slid down her cheek. All of this came a mere 18 months before the Shibuya collapse. Okay, let's get into present time. Ah, no! That's it! Darn, okay. I guess we won't get the aftermath of what happened. That's a little bit disappointing, but I mean, it was good to like get an explanation about how everything came to be. There was hints of it, but it was nice to kind of like get a real deep dive into his life before he became Shogun and before like the other Takumi was created. Okay, so with it finished, what are my thoughts of Chaos Head Noah? I did like it. I don't think it compares to Steins Gate, and I'm, comparing them because they were part of like the science adventure series. And I know that this was the first one, I believe, so like they definitely improved. I feel like the writing and things like that. I didn't really connect to the characters in this one quite as much as Steins Gate. And the big thing for me was Takumi himself, and I know this is something that a lot of people had issue with, is like the character that we play. He just got under my skin, and I know that was the point. He was not written to be like a super sympathetic character, at least at the beginning. And I have played visual novels with kind of morally gray characters, or even just downright like despicable protagonists. But I feel like this one just hit in a realistic kind of way. Like he's the type of person that I could just imagine you meet in real life, and you have no idea about like just the thoughts they have in their heads, just these like really perverted, sick thoughts. And you know, we all have them in a way, and I think that was it. It was just, there was just the banality and also just the realism of this character. Like, this is someone that you could know in real life, and he wasn't so far removed as, you know, some games where it's like the character can just be so evil that it's kind of hard to even see them as anything but a fictional character, if that makes sense. He did evolve over time, and I did appreciate that he kind of learned to make connections and things like that. And I do appreciate the psychological horror, whereas Steins Gate was more like a science fiction. This was more like, you know, psychological horror is my jam, and like it really did nail the feelings of paranoia, and you just don't know what's going on, and you kind of feel the same way Takumi does. Like, you just don't understand what's happening, and like what is real, what isn't, what are his delusions, what is reality. So yeah, the overall story I felt like very gripping, and I wanted to see what happened next. I think it was just, for me, the characters just didn't hit the same way that like Steins Gate or maybe some other visual novels I played did. I didn't really form bonds with them, like didn't really connect with them. But overall, I did enjoy my time with Chaos Head Noah. But with that out of the way, guys, it is time for me to announce my next Let's Play series. So I did put up a poll on my community page, and it's probably the closest poll I've had in a while. And the game that won, I have put it on polls multiple times, and it's always kind of lagged behind. I never saw it as actually winning, but it did this time. The people who want me to play this game, you spoke up this time, and you made your voices heard, and it's happening. I am going to finally be playing Disco Elysium, and this game is like so far removed from my usual style of game. It is a narrative game. It is a very story-driven game, but it's just the style of it is very different from what I usually do. So I hope you guys are excited. Please check out my Disco Elysium playthrough, which will be starting next Monday and Sunday for my Patreon subscribers. Thank you all for voting on the poll. I really appreciate it. And yeah, that's going to do it for my Chaos Head Noah playthrough, guys. Thank you so much for tuning all the way through to the end. And I hope you will check out my Disco Elysium playthrough starting next week. Until then, bye. Special shoutouts to my top tier patrons: Revealing Storm, Lindsay VA, Lunar, Kenju Storm, and Icognito.